Hi, welcome to my video on extra problems on the ellipse. So on this page we have a problem and we have an equation. So it's x minus 2 all squared divided by 25 and plus y plus 3 all squared divided by 16 equals 1. So notice there's a plus sign. We have a square and a square, and this is a squared and this is b squared, and they're not the same. So what we have an ellipse, and in this ellipse we have a center, which is 2, and a negative 3, and we have a squared is 25. That's the a squared, so a square root of 25 is plus or minus 5, and we have a b squared is 16, so b is the square root of 16, which is plus or minus 4. So what I like to do is to draw the ellipse. We have a center of x is 2 and y is negative 3, so let's put that there. That's the center. And so we have a is plus or minus 5, so we'll move 5 over this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 to the right, so that's vertex 1, and we move 5 to the left, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll move right here, so that's vertex 2. So this vertex, the center is, as we said, 2, negative 3, so we move 5. So we add 5 onto the x to get a 7, negative 3. And we move 5 to the left, so that gives us negative 3, negative 3. And so we have to figure out what the foci are. Foci is on the, so these are the vertices on the major axis, which is horizontal. So we have c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared, an ellipse. So we have c squared is, a squared is in the equation as a 25, which is here. B squared is in the equation, which is 16. So c squared is a 9. So c is the plus or minus the square root of 9, which is plus or minus 3. So the foci and the vertices are on the horizontal axis, so we'll add 3 on. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's focus 1. And so this point is 5, negative 3. And we'll move 3 to the left. So we'll move right here to get focus 2. So this focus is negative 1, negative 3. So we have, remember, when you move on a horizontal line, the y's do not change. So this is y. The major axis is the y equals negative 3. So the x's are changing as you move left and right. So now we have to get, these are the foci. We have to get the, these are the foci right here. These are the vertices. So the vertices are on the horizontal. So that means the co-vertices are on the vertical. So we have the plus or minus 4. So we start here and we have to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So that's 2, 1. And so we go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So that's 2, negative 7. So the question is, this is find the equation of the line through the co-vertices and the focus in quadrant 4. So this is an ellipse. We have plotted all the vertices, co-vertices, and we plotted also the foci. So the question is, we wanted to go through the co-vertex and the focus in quadrant 4. So the co-vertex in quadrant 4, this one is the co-vertex, and let's say that's 1, and this is co-vertex 2. So it has to go through the co-vertex is 2, negative 7, and it has to go to the focus, as in quadrant 4, which is focus in quadrant 4 is right here at 5, -3. So we want to find the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. So we call this one x1, y1, x2, y2. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now I'm looking for the equation of the line is y equals mx plus b, so we need our slope first. So we plug this points coordinates in for the slope y2. So this is x2 y2 x1 y1, so that's a -3. Subtract y1 is -7 and x2 is a 5. Subtract 2, so that gives us double negative is a positive, so that gives us -3 and 7 is a 4. 5 subtract 2 is 3, so the slope is 4 over 3. So y equals slope 4 over 3x plus b. So we take one of these points, that might be different which one it is, so let's take the point 5, -3. So y is -3, x is 5, and so we work out what b is. So -3, 5 over 1 gives us 20 over 3 plus b, and so we get -3 subtract 20 over 3 equals b, and that's -9 over 3 because of the common denominator of 3. So b comes out to be -29 over 3. So the equation is y equals slope is 4 over 3 x, and the y-intercept is a -29 over 3. So that's the equation that passes through these two the foci here and the covertex right here. So there's the equation. And another way we could have done that is we could have wrote it down as like this. We could have said y minus y1 is m outside of x minus x1. So we could have taken either one of the points. So let's take the point 2, -7 and plug it in. So that's x and there's a y. So we could have gone y minus -7. The slope is 4 over 3 and x minus 2. And so that would have been y plus 7 is 4 over 3x minus 2. So that would have been, this equation here is in the slope y-intercept form. This is in the point slope form. Or we could have taken the other point, which is 5, -3, and plugged it into this is the equation in the point slope form. And we had y subtract -3, and it's 4 over 3 and x minus 5. So that's y plus 3 is 4 over 3 times x plus 5. So we can have this equation in slope y-intercept form, or we could have these two. But if you solve this equation for y, you'll come up with this one. If you solve this equation for y, you'll come up with this one. So there's 3 possible answers here. But there's only one equation in slope y-intercept form, and there it is. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're using the idea of vertices, foci, and all the center of the ellipse, and working out the equation of a line. Just more math to do. Now let's do another one. Find the intersection of these two equations. Notice this is x squared y squared with a plus sign. These are different, so this is an ellipse, and this is a linear equation of a line. So how are we going to do it? Well, we could take number this equation as number 1 and number this equation as 2. So I'm going to take equation 2. Let's take number 2, which is x minus 2y plus 7 equals 0. Now I got a choice. I want to solve this equation for x or y and sub it in here, because when we do that, we will have all x's or we'll have all y's. Notice the x has a 1. So it's because the x has a 1, it's best to solve this equation for, solve the equation for x because we have a 1 coefficient. If you solve this equation for y, you're going to get a fraction of a half and 7 over 2. So solving it for x and subbing it into here, we'll have no fractions. So now we're going to sub into number 1. We're going to sub in x. So we're going to sub that into number 1. So we'll write down number 1 equation, which is 4x squared plus 16y squared plus 8x minus 32y. So we're going to sub this equation for x into this equation number 1, which is ellipse. So x is equal to, so we have 4 x's 2y minus 7 squared, y squared, and x is 2y minus 7 minus 32y minus 44. So by replacing x with y's, now we have all y's in this equation. We just have to simplify this equation. So we have to do the power first. So we have to square this binomial. So 2y squared is 4y squared. The product is 14, negative 14y, so it's a negative 28y. Negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. So we have this square done. So we write down the rest of the equation. So I want to do one step at a time. Now, since the square is gone, now I'll do the multiplication. So I'll multiply 4 by this trinomial. 4 times 4 is 16y squared. 4 times negative 28 will give you a negative 112y. 4 times 49 will give you a positive 196 plus 16y squared. 8 times 2y minus 7 is 16y. 7 eighths are 56 negative, minus 32y minus 44. Now we'll group all the terms together. So let's go 16y squared plus 16y squared minus 112y plus 16y minus 32y. So I did all the y squareds, then I did all the y's. Now I got a plus 196, and I have a minus 56, and a minus 44 equals 0. So let's add up the like terms. So we got a 32y squared and a negative 112 plus 16 minus 32 comes out to be a negative 128y, because these are all y's. When you add all these up and subtract, you'll end up with a positive 96. Again, you can add that with a calculator. Notice that these two give you a negative 100, so 100 out of this is 96. Now, 32. I wonder, is 32 a factor of this? So if you take your calculator and take 32 out, so we check to see if there's a common factor. So we check the largest one first. 32 into y squared. 32 into 128 goes 4. 32 into 96 goes 3. So 32 is a factor. If 32 wasn't a factor, then you have to check to see if 16 or 8 or 4 is a common factor. But since 32 is a factor, 32, this is a quadratic, probably, hopefully it's factorable. Y squared is y and y. Factors of 3 are 3 and 1. And product is positive. Sum is negative, so it's a negative 3, negative 1. Multiply negative 3, negative 1 is 3. Add negative 4. Perfect. So we have 32 can't be equal to 0, so we ignore that. So y minus 3 is equal to 0. or we have y minus 1 equals 0, which means y is 3 or y is 1. Now we have to sub these back in to find out what the x values are. So it's best to sub them back into the equation of the line and not. If you take the y and sub it back in here, you'll have way more work to do. So it's best to sub it into this equation. It's simpler. So we got a y minus or x minus 2y plus 7 equal to 0. Now I could have subbed it in here, but I subbed it in the equation number 2. So this equation is not. See, this could be a mistake. When you solve this for x, there could be an error here. So subbing it back into the original equation makes it true. So y is 3. So now we got to find what x is. So x minus 6 plus 7. X plus 1 equals 0. X is equal to negative 1. So that means we got x is negative 1 when y is 3. So now we'll write down equation 2 again, the original equation, and we'll sub in y is 1. So when we sub y is 1, take our time, work it out. We multiply and then we add, so x plus 5 equals 0. X is negative 5. So x is negative 5 when y is 1. So these are the 2 points that this line will intersect this ellipse. And again, notice I solved the equation of the line for x to have no fractions. So watch out for those little. You don't have to always solve it for y. And we have another one to solve. Find the solutions to this system. So notice we have again x squared, y squared. We have a 1 and a plus 4. So this is an ellipse, and this is a circle. So how do we deal with a circle and ellipse? Notice the ellipse got an x squared, y squared, and notice the circle has an x squared and y squared after we simplify it. So let's take this to be equation 1, this to be equation 2. So let's take equation 2 and simplify it. So we're going to square this binomial here, so there's an x squared double minus 2x plus 1. Square this one, we square the y. Product is 2y doubled is 4y, and 2 squared is 4. And we put it in, we want to put it in the order that looks like this. So we'll go x squared plus y squared minus 2x plus 4y plus 1 plus 4 minus 1. So we have an x squared plus y squared minus 2x. And the 1's cancel out, so I get a plus 4 equals 0. So this is equation 2 simplified. So let's write down equation 1, which is, this is equation 1. This takes, now we write down equation 2. Notice I have them all, they're all lined up. Think about this, you just got to be careful to write it down correctly because you could make a mistake in copying it. Now, this is equation 1, equation 2. Notice the x squareds. So I have to multiply one of these by, so if I take this equation and multiply it by 1, multiply this equation by negative 1. So if I take this equation, multiply by 1, it won't change it. So I get x squared plus 4y squared. It's the same equation because you're multiplying it by 1. Now we're going to multiply this one by negative 1. We're going to change all the signs. So it's a negative x squared minus y squared plus 2x minus 4y minus 4 equals 0. So negative, negative, positive, negative, negative. So because we have them, because the x squared are opposites, we add. And notice they're gone here. So we end up with a 3y squared plus 12y plus 9 equals 0. Notice we end up with all y's. And is 3 a factor of 12 and 9? Yes, so we take the 3 out by factoring. And this is a quadratic, so hopefully it's factorable. If it's not, I got to use the quadratic formula. So y squared is a y and a y. Factors of 3 are 3 and 1. The product is positive and the sum is positive, so it has to be plus and a plus. Multiply 3 and 1, 3. Add 3 and 1, 4. Perfect. Again, we ignore the 3 because it's a constant. So y plus 3 is equal to 0, or y plus 1 is equal to 0. So y is equal to negative 3. Y is equal to negative 1. Now, we got to sub this back into one of these equations up here. Again, this one is easier because you got the squares already here. And let's put it into number 2. So let's write down x minus 1 squared. Now you can sub into either one, it's your choice. I'm just picking number 2. Looks like it's easier. So I'm subbing in y is negative 3. Y is negative 3. So I got to be careful now. Y is, did I copy it? X, y plus 2. Ah, plus. Now what did I say? That's a plus 2. So that's a negative 3. Got to be careful. So I'm copying down number 2. So x minus 1 squared, y plus 2 squared equals 1. So we put y is negative 3 in, so we get x minus 1 squared. So that gives us negative 1 squared. So x minus 1 squared. Negative 1 squared is 1. So x minus 1 squared is 1 minus 1. So x minus 1 squared equals 0. And the square root of x squared, so that means that x minus 1, it's got to be equal to 0. Because the only number that you can square to give you 0 is 0. So x is 1. So we got x is 1, y is negative 3. Now, we're going to write down the same equation again. And this time, we're going to sub in when y is negative 1. So y is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Now again, I'm doing one step at a time so you can see it. So we square the 1 to get 1. We get x minus 2 squared is 1 minus 1. X minus 2 squared is 0. That's the same as right here now. So x, now see, I just noticed this is x minus 1. So you got this is 1. I just noticed the error. So I would have come back and I said I got the same thing. So if I got x minus 1 here, I should have it here. So that's an x minus 1 is 0. So x is 1. So when y is negative 1, x is 1. So these are the two ordered pairs where the circle, which has a center of 1, negative 2 with a radius of 1, intercepts the ellipse. So that's some extra problems to do. And again, be very careful. Write it down carefully. Again, don't do what I did. Sometimes I make an error and copy it down wrong. Sometimes if you're not talking, you're just paying attention to whatever explaining it. It's just working through your problem. So, and if you like my video, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that I have on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Just one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.